Hello and welcome to the show. Today I'm not in an audio booth, so expect to hear interruptions in the background. We are going to continue with what we've been doing for the past 2-3 days, and that is on effective prospecting. Of course, prospecting is just looking for people who might be interested in your product or your service. And of course, we're going to continue with the case study we've been using, the fictional case study of a 10-year post-call lawyer. I can't remember what we called her yesterday. So today, let's call her Adenike Obiajulu. And so we're going to continue with that today. Oh, and by the way, yes, the reason why I'm calling her Adenike Obiajulu is because I've been on a high life kick recently on Spotify, and I'm currently listening to Celestine Uku, and that's some really good stuff, like correct Pami music. So if you'd like to try out indigenous homegrown music, high life, this is before the Civil War, then Celestine Uku, that's some real good stuff. All right. So we're supposed to be talking about effective prospecting. Shout outs. Today we're going to shout out Sharif. He is the owner of Wise Azzy. They are a tech and car sales company, and he's been a listener of the podcast since November of 2023, and he reached out to me on WhatsApp, so we have a few conversations going. So thank you very much, Sharif, for listening to the podcast and for reaching out. And I do appreciate, you guys, the OGs, those of you who've been listening for, well over a year at the very least, because the podcast is growing in popularity. I'm getting, I think on Spotify alone, I'm getting maybe like 40 or 50 new subscribers every single week. So yeah, there are a bunch of you that are just discovering the show for the first time. But shout out to you OGs and shout out to Sharif. Now back to the topic of the day, which is effective prospecting. Now we've defined prospecting in the past as just trying to figure out who might be interested in your product or your service. We need to know who are they. We need to also figure out where are they. Because if we figure out where they are, we know how it is that we're going to go and reach them. So where are they online? Where are they offline? And then if we can do these two things and we can come up with a plan for how to start the conversations productively, we shall be fine. So sales is difficult, yes. But the thing is, if you start off on the right note, which is prospecting, who might be interested in my product or my service? Just use some common sense, use some creativity, sit down, just brainstorm. Or use these AI tools or go on Google. Talk to Momsy and Popsy, talk to somebody, You'll be able to draw up a list and say, okay, for this kind of business, the people that might be interested might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next thing, you try and figure out where are these people? Where do they hang out? Online, where can I find them? In the real world, where can I find them? So, it just makes business a whole lot easier. So if you sit down and where do they hang out online? You don't know. But in the real world, you know that they attend a Christian Mother Fellowship. Then problem solved. It's a matter of trying to see how can I enter into Christian Mother Fellowship so I can sell my goods. It's that simple. Then, of course, you need to come up with a plan for how to start the conversations effectively, productively. All that is what we call prospecting. And that is how we should start off the sales journey, no matter which business it is that we're trying to build. And that is why we're illustrating this with our fictional baby lawyer, Adenike Obiajulu. That's what I'll call her today. She's been practicing law for 10 years. And her guy has been paying her, like 120K every month. And she's fed up and she thinks, look, this is absolute rubbish. I've been in this firm for the last 10 years. I have been the head of different groups or committees that has listed 4 of our biggest clients on the Nigerian Stock Exchange and have introduced different kinds of investment products to the market. So I'm tired. I'm fed up. I have the expertise. I have the skills. I'm going to go out and do things on my own. And then Adenike Obiajulu just goes and submits a resignation letter. And then she wakes up on Monday and then she's like, okay, so what do I do? So if you're in the Obiajulu situation, this is what you do. Effective prospecting. That's the first thing that you need to do. So in yesterday's episode, in answering the question, who might be interested in the product or the service, the answer that we came up with is Obiajulu can start talking to fintech bros and fintech sisters, people who are in the startup space, investment banks, brokerages, whether it's crypto brokerage or stock brokerage, brokerage, depending on what Obiajulu is interested in, Adenike is interested in. Then we also suggested that Adenike Obiajulu should also start talking to people who are in asset management and in wealth management. So yesterday, that is how we answered the question, who might be interested in this particular service. Then again, excuse me, I also mentioned on the podcast yesterday that even though my first background was in law, I've been out of this space for a very long time. To be honest, my wig and gown, that the black thing that makes us look like a masquerade with the funny cap. Actually, it's a wig, it's not a cap. I haven't worn that thing in, I think, 20 years. I don't even know where my own is, actually. In fact, if you just graduated law school recently and you and I are the same size, because I'm about 6'1", and 130 kilograms. So if you're a fairly robust guy like me, then hit me up. My wig and gown is available. You might as well come and buy my own. Mine is an authentic Eads and Ravencroft. Was bought in the UK. So some nice, good level stuff. So just hit me up. And you might as well just come and take my own. Instead of going to go and buy a new one at these prices. Especially since my own has been barely fairly used, because I think I used it while the whole year that I was in Kano, but since I left Kano I haven't used it. So baby lawyers, especially if you're a big dude like me, hit me up. Well, if you're a big lady as well, hit me up. The whole thing is unisex, so no problem. Where was I? So what I was trying to say is that, so I was saying on the podcast that, look, I've been out of this world for a very long time. So if you're a lawyer listening to this podcast and you think that some of the advice that I'm giving Adenike Obiajulu or anybody in this circumstance is not correct, like the kind of clients you should be running after, please hit me up, send me a message, let me know so I can come and, address the thing over here on the podcast. Also, because like I keep saying, sales is not one person will know everything, so my specialty is in coming up with the frameworks and the strategy. When it comes to the particulars, like trying to guess which kind of client is the best person to run after, I might be wrong because nobody knows everything. So just let me know. If you are a lawyer listening to this particular episode and yesterday's episode, and there's something that I've said that you disagree, please join the conversation. My contact details 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234. For those of you who are not Nigerian, that's my WhatsApp number. You can reach out to me just like Sharif did. Then I'm on LinkedIn as Tavishima Ayede. You can also find some of my stuff on YouTube as well. So that's what we did yesterday. Then we also agreed yesterday that as part of prospecting now, as Adenike has drawn a list of companies, a list of fintechs, list of startups, investment banks, brokerages, asset firms, Stanbic IBTC, wealth management, let's see what else, like Access Bank, wealth managers and pensions, something. She has written down that whole list now. The next thing she has to figure out is, okay, in this big company, who am I going to go and talk to? Because you can't prospect by, just addressing the whole building. You guys go to the building and start talking to one or two people. Or if you're going to look on LinkedIn, you have to start messaging one or two people. So that's how you enter an account. So the target people that we came up with yesterday are the CEO, that's the Ogak Patapata, the CFO, that's the Chief Financial Officer, the General Counsel. General Counsel is just big lawyer. Let me just put it that way. The big lawyer in the company who handles all the legal stuff. Compliance officer. Compliance officer is the internal person who is trying to make sure that everything, all the legal matters, are in check. Even though people have internal compliance officers, it doesn't stop them from hiring consultants from time to time. So that is where you, Adenike, will come into the picture. Then the head of the legal department, blah, blah, blah. People like that, Sha. Those are the kind of people that Obiajulu should be getting in touch with. So you write that down on a sheet of paper. Now, remember what I said at the top of the episode, that effective prospecting, we're trying to just tackle three main things. Number one, who might be interested in my product or my service? Adenike Obiajulu, she sat down, she wrote it. Piap. Where are they? Where are they or who are they? She has also written name of the organization, everything, and she has dropped a list of officers, and maybe she has even gone to LinkedIn itself to now go and look at specific people so she can start coming up with a hit list, people that she will tackle. Because it's one thing to say, okay, I'm going to go and meet the CFO of Stanbic IBTC. Okay, that's a good goal. But do you know who the fella is or who the babe is? You have no idea. So that's where LinkedIn and all these things come up. So you do LinkedIn, do some small search. Well, first of all, you can do Google. Who is the CFO of Stanbic IBTC? A bunch of names will show up. From there, begin to refine the search, and then you enter LinkedIn. And see, now, this is the reason why I'm telling you guys that, look, for those of you who are selling to other businesses, I hope you're beginning to see why you should be on LinkedIn. Because the thing still, it boggles my mind how I will meet somebody, a Nigerian, who is selling business to business in 2025, and some people have never even heard of LinkedIn. One guy was even telling me that, what's your linked? As in, linked? Like, the guy, as in, obviously, he has never even heard of the thing before. It is when I typed it and I sent it to him, that was the first time of him hearing it. Then when we were talking over the phone, he said, you're linked. LinkedIn, please. LINKED, then IN. If you're selling business to business, you need to be on this thing. You don't have to. It's a good, if nothing else, it's a good research tool. If you do corporate hampers, these kinds of things, you're based in Lagos or Abuja, you need to be on LinkedIn. So if you want to target Access Bank, for instance, in Ikeja or something like that, from doing small Google search, you will get some names. The names, you can now be able to look at LinkedIn, be able to confirm one or two things. That is how you can walk up to the branch and say, oh, good morning, is Mr. Adekunle around? You say, yes, he is. Oh, please just tell him that Nike is here to see him. Nike from so and so. I mean, that's a bullshit approach. I mean, yes, because it's nice if you called him ahead of time to fix a meeting. But, with courage and confidence now, we pull some of these things off. I mean, I've done it a few times. Just walk up to the door, say, oh, hello, is Kule in? Oh, just tell him Tabishima is here to see him. Say expecting you. You say, oh no, he's not, but it's concerning the so and so matter. I say, okay. Security guard will open the gate. You enter. You made progress. You've entered the building, Sha. The rest is up to you. So please, everybody, especially those of you who are selling business to business, I beg you guys go and open a LinkedIn profile. It's 2025. All right. Where was I? So who am I interested, where they might be? So now, what we're going to tackle today now, the main thing we're going to tackle today is how to start these conversations. Because now we have a list. We have like 10, 15 companies on that list. Each of those companies will have like two, three people that we want to start having conversations with. The main thing we're trying to figure out today is, as part of effective prospecting, how are we going to start these conversations? Now, before we start this conversation, we also need to do small brainstorming again. We also need to sit down again. If before you sat down with momsy, popsy, husband, boyfriend, in fact, remove boyfriend from the picture. Discuss your husband only. Leave boyfriends out of this for now. Maybe when he has proposed and he has taken his uncles to go and see your father, then you can now start consulting him on these things. So, you've now come up with a list of talking points. The first thing we need to do is now come up with a list of talking points or conversation frameworks. Because the problem is, lots of us head into networking scenarios or walking into somebody's office or meeting them for the first time, and then we're just freestyling. We're just talking about things cold. Don't wait until you're face to face with a prospect or with a stakeholder, and then you now start thinking about what to say on the spot. I have done it myself, and we all do it, but it's not good, and it racks your brain. That's the reason why sometimes you go for a small networking session, 1 hour, and then you're tired. Of course you're tired, because you didn't go there with a framework. You spoke to 10 people. With each person, you had to think of everything to say from fresh. It's mentally tasking now. It's hard. So, we need to agree on some of these talking points ahead of time before we meet these people, before we go for the networking, before we go into their office. It makes it easy for us. We're relaxed. We already know 2 or 3 things we could talk about, and the conversation will just be flowing naturally. So don't wait until you're face to face with these people. Come up with some talking points ahead of time. So, how will I put it now? Anyway, what we need to do is not anything too complicated. You just need broad strokes or bullet points or conversation starters, per person or per groups of people. So you don't have to come with a list to say, when I am in front of the CFO for Access, this is what we'll discuss. Then when I'm with the CFO for Stanbic IBTC, this is what we'll discuss. Just give some broad strokes. Because chances are, whatever it is that you find to talk to that is relevant to one CFO, that's Chief Financial Officer, will probably be applicable for all Chief Financial Officers that you meet. The order of the conversation will change. The tenor of the conversation will change. But the broad strokes will still be there. So these are some things that I came up with. So number one, navigating complex regulations. What that just means is you're thinking of starting a business. What does the Investment and Securities Act say? What does CBN regulations say? What of Ministry of Finance regulations? These are good conversations that Adenike Obiajulu can be having with people who are in the fintech space and who are in the startup space. So if she goes networking, like there's this thing in Abuja that they call Founders Friday or something like that. In Lagos, Abuja, and I think in Kaduna, I think it's called Founders Friday, where people who have startup ideas and then people who are looking to invest and things like that, people go for those meetings. So Bejulu, she can go for that meeting. And at the back of her head, she just knows navigating complex regulations. That's what's ringing in her head. So that by the time she's talking with somebody and the person says, this is my startup idea, blah, 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 she's like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Tell me about this. Tell me about this. Tell me about this. And the person talks and talks and talks and talks and talks. And then in her mind, the thing just clicks. Navigating complex regulations. Oh, this aspect of what you want to do. Have you thought about the fact that you might have to apply to CBN for this particular license or that particular license? The person will say, really? What do you mean? She'll say, yes. CBN regulation, section this, section that. People who provide this and that need to something, this and this and this. The person will be like, wow, okay, I never heard that before. You say, yeah, it's actually a very fascinating topic and it's something that would help with your startup. You know what? Can I have your business card? Oh, I don't have business card. I give people my phone number. Okay, sure, no problem. Take my phone number. Okay, so will you be free Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock? I can come by your office so that we can discuss this particular aspect some more and see how the thing affects your startup. If you've had that kind of conversation, don't you think that guy will say, oh yeah, sure, no problem, come by the office? I mean, what do you think? It's a no-brainer because he's been going around at this networking event talking to everybody about his brilliant startup idea or her brilliant startup idea, and everybody has been saying, wow, fantastic, clapping for him. And you are the first person who said, oh, this is fantastic, but for this particular thing, have you thought about CBN regulation, blah, 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 that you have to comply with? And these are the after effects, and this is how it will put you at risk, or this is what you need to do to comply. As far as he is concerned, you're the only person that has made sense this whole evening. Because everybody has been clapping for him, saying, wow, great idea, wow, great idea. But for you, you've given him something concrete, valuable, and insightful. Of course, you would take that meeting. So that's the beginning of how we begin to enter small. By the way, baby lawyers, I hope you can see now how you can be entering the market and your distinguishing factor does not have to be price. For some people, that's the only value proposition they can think of. If you're going with a senior advocate, the senior advocate will charge you 20 million. Me, I'm willing to do this thing for you for 8 million. Look, it's a no-brainer now. Pick me. You can see how now you can start entering accounts small, and you're coming with a greater value proposition than price. This is the reason why I say, because some people keep saying, oh, price. This is the reason why I say, like, you are the person who is causing the problem. You're not adding any insight into the situation. You're not adding any value into the situation. So the only way that the person can judge you is just on price alone. So if this guy that everybody has been clapping for, he meets 3 or 4 lawyers at that event, and at that networking event, none of the lawyers say anything that makes sense, of course he will rank all of you the same and just pick the cheapest. But if he meets 5 lawyers that day, and it's only Adenike Obiajulu that says something like this, of course, the thing will now, she will now stand apart in his mind. Now, okay, there was that brilliant female lawyer that I met that day. What's her name? I can't remember. I hope she calls me. And then you happen to call and it's like, oh, fantastic, I've been waiting for your call. Sorry, I didn't store your number. And maybe we'll now have a fruitful conversation. Anyway, let me move on. So, number 1, navigating complex regulations. That is what I came up with. So that as Obiajulu Adenike is going around networking or walking into people's offices, she's always thinking about those things. That's people in the startup space. She's thinking Investment and Securities Act, CBN regulation, Ministry of Finance regulation, any other regulation. That is one conversation point. Another conversation point that I came up with, oh, by the way, like I said, lawyers, because, now we're talking technical. Those of you who are practicing lawyers, if there's anything here that I'm saying that doesn't make sense, I beg, reach out to me. Contact number 080-6466-2140. Country code is +234. That's my WhatsApp number. If there's anything that I'm saying that doesn't make sense, or is outdated, or has been superseded by a new law, let me know so I can come over here and tell people that, look, please, dear listeners, what I said in episode so and so is no longer correct because of 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. So, another talking point, and I put down was mitigating risk when raising capital. Because people who are in brokerage firms and who are in wealth management, who manage other people's money, sometimes you don't know that you try and do something one way and you now put yourself in immediate bege, you put yourself in immediate yawa. You do something that looks like it's common sense, but you didn't know that it was illegal. So when Obiajulu Adenike is going around and talking to people who are in the banking space or the brokerage space, especially you people who are coming up with crypto brokerages, because a lot of you are doing stuff that you don't know is illegal, or you don't know is allowed, or you don't know that might be unethical, she can be having conversations with these people while networking or while doing content marketing. Content marketing, putting up stuff on LinkedIn, making videos, or maybe appearing on podcasts. So mitigating risk is something she could be talking about. That, oh yes, oh, your wealth management products, blah blah blah. I saw on this blog, or on this or on that this new product that you're rolling out, and something. Oh, by the way, I'm just curious. Have you complied with regulation? This is that. A person like, regulation what? Tell me more. I say, yes, there's regulation so and so. It's not really known, but it's something that while I was in legal practice under my Oga this last 10 years, it's something that we came up time and time again when we were packaging the products for this bank, for this bank, for this bank. See, this is a way of you showing credibility now. That even though you might look like a baby lawyer, that you don't take in the field. You've been 10 years and you've worked on 4 prominent cases. I'm not a fan of name dropping and stuff like that, but there are times when you can do it in a very classy manner, and this is one of those times. So you can bring it up, mitigating risk. Yes, you're putting together this product, putting together this offering, putting together this whatever. But have you paid attention to this and this? If you don't pay attention to this and this, these are the liabilities that might crop up later. You can say that this is also a very insightful thing to do. And of course, that kind of thing, just like I said with the first example, then, by the way, I'd love to hear some more about this product, see if there's any way that my firm can be of value to you and your clients. Will you be available Friday morning? I'm going to be around Ikeja around that time. Can I just drop in for a chat? You see, this is how you now secure meetings. All right. Then, number 3, I now wrote understanding the evolving regulatory landscape. Okay, that's big grammar, but this is just what it means. Nigeria is part of something called the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth are a group of countries that had been colonized by Great Britain. So, Commonwealth involves countries like Niger, Canada, Ghana, India. I don't know if America is part of the Commonwealth. AKT, if you're listening, please fact check me. Let me know if America is part of the Commonwealth. Malaysia, all those countries now. So those are Commonwealth countries. Now, the thing that we Commonwealth countries have in common is this. Since our colonial overlord used to be Great Britain, certain aspects of our laws derive from legal principles and practices that used to happen in the UK. So sometimes you have broad similarities between what happens in Nigeria and what happens in India. Whether it's our business law or our criminal law, in principle, you have the actual laws itself, might be different. But in principle, you have some correlation, as in they flow together. Let me put it that way. So that's one reason why sometimes some financial developments start in America. Before you know it, people in UK will copy it. Before you know it, people in Nigeria will copy it. Or some developments might start off in India. Excuse me. Before you know it, Bangladesh they will copy it. Before you know it, Malaysia will copy it. Before you know it, Nigeria will copy it. Or some developments will start in Nigeria, and before you know it, Ghana they will copy it. And before you know it, Botswana they will copy it. So it's like that. So that's how it happens. That's how it rolls. So when Adenike Obiajulu is now talking to people in the what are they called now? The the regulators. If she's meeting with people from Securities and Exchange Commission, or she meets somebody who happens to work in CBN, or she meets somebody who happens to work in Ministry of Finance, these are the kind of things that they can be talking about. How the regulatory landscape is changing. Say, oh, so you work in CBN. Oh, that's fantastic. What department? Okay, you're in charge of this and this and that and that. Oh, please tell me more. And then you listen to what the guy or the girl has to say. And then you say, oh, that sounds really, really, really fascinating. But have you thought about this? In America, the landscape is changing. They are now be doing this, and that. The person will say, tell me more. We say, yes, it's something that we came up with back when I was working with under my Oga, the last 10 years that I was there. And we faced it in this case and in that case. And I think it's something that Nigerian regulators, you should be paying attention to. You leave that kind of networking session, you leave that kind of interaction with the person will say, this babe is bright. This babe is forward thinking. This babe, she goes school. This babe is very correct. In fact, in some of those situations, the regulator is the person that will say, oh, madam, I hope you don't mind. Can I have your number? So, baby lawyers in particular. No, in fact, not just baby lawyers, baby accountants. Who else? Baby architects. Hope you guys are beginning to see, how we start distinguishing ourselves, setting ourselves apart. And you see why I keep saying on the podcast that those of you who are worried about distinguishing yourself from the competition, if you want to do it, just make sure you have a rock solid sales process. A solid sales process in itself is going to distinguish you from all the competition that is out there. So, prospecting, we've looked at who might be interested for Adenike. We figured out where they are. We've drawn up a list of the people, and we've now come up with a broad framework for tackling the conversations. So, since we have done close to 30 minutes, let me just bring it to a close here, and then we'll pick up from here tomorrow. That's how to start the conversations. Just bear in mind that when I said conversations, I was thinking of sometimes networking session, sometimes putting things on social media, sometimes walking into somebody's office to have a meeting. So we'll flesh it out from there tomorrow. So if you'd love to connect, just like Sharif did, the phone number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234. And that's my WhatsApp number as well. Please don't send me Telegram. I check Telegram maybe like once every 3 months. Then the name to look for on LinkedIn if you want to connect. And please, my Nigeria brothers and sisters, it's not linked. All right. So you want to connect on LinkedIn, the name is Tabishima Ayede. You can also find my stuff on YouTube in case you don't do podcast, because this is weird thing. Like my brother, for instance, my brother likes podcasts, but he will not listen to a podcast on a podcast player. He will always go to YouTube. And then I tell the guy that, look, you open this thing on YouTube and you don't even watch the video. You just leave it playing in the background. Like, what's the point? Just go and subscribe on the podcast. And he keeps telling me that, no, YouTube is best. Now, my wife does that thing too. So you people that listen to podcasts on YouTube, I don't understand you. Because it's not as if you pulled up the video and you sit down and you're watching the video. You put the video and then you now go and start washing cloth or doing something else, and then you'll be listening to the audio. You might as well just listen to the podcast. But anyway, that's a quarrel for another day. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.